Okay, live. You want me to start?
Do we want to check it
I didn't get the notification. Yep,
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah, we're live.
to verify he's seeing us on YouTube?
Yep,
We're
we're good.
We're go, right?
Okay, good morning. It's a March 25th public review session for the Board of Standards and Appeals. This is the 10 a.m. session, which will be followed by a public hearing afterwards. So the items that we will be discussing this morning will be items 2017-89A, 3798 Railroad Avenue, Queens, 2019-68A, 235 Industrial Loop, Staten Island. And on the zoning calendar, it's 2018-67BZ, 7406 Fifth Avenue, 2018-146BZ, 1315 East 24th Street, Brooklyn, and 2019-16 BZ, 25001 Northern Boulevard, Queens. You want to call the first item?
Yes, I just want to welcome everybody to the second day of our online streaming interactive review session and hearing. And thank you for those of you who are watching for tuning in. Okay.
So item number 1, 2017-69, sorry, is that 69A? 99A, I'm sorry, 3798 Railroad Avenue, Queens.
Okay. Okay, a survey of the easement from Review Avenue to the site has been provided. The plans were supposed to clarify the road finishes, widths, curb, and et cetera, and don't. So though we did ask for a survey of the easement area, so we don't have to figure it out, they were supposed to modify the BSA plans to clarify the condition of that easement area, because that's the access way. It's a paved road, but it doesn't give us details about the condition. The title company also was supposed to give us assurances that this user is a beneficiary of the right of way to access the site, because that's, again, requires us to read the easements, and that's really the title company to read them and translate them. So we're missing that. Photos show that the width of the easement area is severely reduced at the entry area by fencing and concrete barriers. I'm not sure whether the fire department is aware of this. It's not shown on that easement area.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, may I interrupt? So the fire department issued a letter. I forwarded to everyone this morning. So they've conducted inspections and issued violation orders against these premises. Unfortunately, the copies of these violation orders are not available at this time. We respectfully request that the board grants this appeal, the conditions be set for this application. The conditions are storage of personal motor vehicles inside the warehouse is prohibited. Trailers for human occupancy inside the warehouse is prohibited. And based on the foregoing, department has no objection, but we'll continue to inspect these premises and enforce all applicable rules and regulations. So I don't know now if you want to have somebody to add.
Yeah, so I would like fire department to add to this, because I'm talking about the easement area, which is the route that you take off of, I think it's called Review Avenue. It's the, when you turn off of Review Avenue, you enter that easement area. That's the very long access route that crosses over Avenue, and then you come onto the site, right? So it sounds like fire department inspected the site, but not the width condition of the access route from Review to Railroad Avenue. And there is a significant reduction in the width of the access route by, I don't know, it looks like generators or something that are placed in the roadbed. And then there's Jersey barriers and a fence around that. And the survey doesn't show that at all. You see it when you're looking at photographs. So during the hearing, fire department can comment on that if they're aware of it. And also, if it doesn't, yeah, so, and also I'd say that the site plan doesn't actually show the route of access to the site. So it just has the site. It just shows the site and no other access way. So the site plan, sorry. And, or if it's showing it, so what I mean by the access route, I'm sorry, I'm kind of reading all over the place at the same time. What I say, when you go down the access route, when you go down the easement, then you cross over Railroad Avenue, which is just like railroad tracks, right? The site plan doesn't actually show what's the route that a trucker will take to get to the building, because it's the building that's the subject of this frontage request, frontage waiver, right? Because it seems like instead the site is just this sort of general pile of asphalt and there's no specific route. And what would prevent the pile of asphalt from blocking access to the building? In fact, when you look at the aerial views, there's asphalt piles, mountains all around the building, except for one area where the trucks drive up. So I think that the drawings should clarify what the access route actually is for both emergency and delivery vehicles. And if it's shown on the drawings, then it's really hard to see because there are a lot of extraneous lines on the drawings that talk about things that aren't really relevant to us. So those extraneous lines should be taken off. Let's see. And then we don't have a response from the applicant to either fire department or DEP conditions. And the other part is I don't have any information on who maintains the access route. So there's an easement, but is there a maintenance agreement like we get on industrial loop?
But I believe there was, in the original filings, there was this cross easement, I believe, agreements.
It's a cross easement, but that's different than a maintenance agreement.
I thought there was some maintenance thing involved in that, and some portion of it.
Okay, well, we
I
need,
thought yeah, I'll look at it because I thought we highlighted that in the agreements with prior council.
no, so I have sorry, the easement is paved because sanitation trucks go over it, but paved by who?
Okay.
Right, so that's the thing. It's definitely one of those kind of impromptu roads. So it's not clear who's in charge of it. So I'm gonna now hand this over to Commissioner Shanda. Trying to unmute you. And I can't. Can somebody unmute? There you go.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm actually trying to locate the file because there was a file that was submitted, and when I downloaded the latest SharePoint, it didn't get downloaded, but it did show the access easement and a lot of the other documents. So I looked at it. I really did not have any comments on this. This is a very unusual site, and all the businesses along this site, they kind of operate in this, they use this access easement. Some of them do, some of them don't, but that's the only way to get there. That's all I can say. And I'm okay with it. I really did not have any comments.
Okay, thank you. Where is she? Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have not seen the site, and so I don't have any additional comments other than your requests for clarifications.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Shetta.
I have been to the site. I did actually visit the site like 2 months ago when we started this. And when I visited the site, I struggled like figuring out the access to the site. What is the access route to the site? And still after this submission, like the chair said, I did look at the plans and I'm still having the same struggle. So yeah, I believe the plans has too many details that might not be relevant to us, to the VSA. If they can just like clarify, make it that like crystal clear, this is the access road, and this is what we're gonna do to make sure that this access is not gonna be interrupted and it's gonna be maintained. That would be very helpful. Other than that, I'm okay with it.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. And Commissioner Shibeta.
I too visited the site. I understand the chair's concerns, and similar to Commissioner Sheta, I found some difficulty traveling through the site. So I didn't receive fire department's letter. I would rely on fire department if they feel like this is a safe access point, but I still would echo the chair's concerns.
Thank you. Okay. Any last minute comments, anyone? No? Okay, we can move on.
New case, item number 2, 2019-68A, 235 Industrial Loop, Staten Island, it's the GCL 36. It's one-story warehouse.
Yeah, 1 second. Okay. We have proof of service of initial application to officials. This one, I'm not sure. Did we get proof of notice of hearing? That was my missing thing, and I'm not sure whether it was supplied. Sorry.
I'll look at my emails. I can't get into the while I'm on the thing. I'm pretty sure he sent that.
Yeah, I kind of remember that he sent, but I didn't note it, so. Sorry. 2019.
No, it's not coming up in my.
Okay, I think Monday we got something. Oh, we got a lot of things.
Right, it was a resubmission because you said the statement was missing.
Yeah, but does it include proof of notice?
No. Let's see. No.
No. So, so the applicant, I hope, is listening. We can't hold a hearing if we don't have proof of notice.
But he said he sent it on Thursday. When I questioned him, it was, this was Saturday. He said he sent it on Thursday. I asked him to send it again. I know he sent it again. Let me just look for Todd's email. I'm sorry.
I don't think I asked you about it until maybe Friday.
Let's see.
Okay, well, I'll read my comments, but we may not be able to hold the hearing unless he sends, we can find it and or he resends proof of notice. Okay. So community board recommends approval. There's an area, and that's just because I don't necessarily understand what this kind of designation means. There's an area called accepting area on the survey. So when you turn to follow industrial loop, it makes a curved turn. The area of the turn is or sort of outside the area of where cars might swing. There's this hatched in area that is described as accepting area. And that's an area that you have to drive through to get to Derrick Court. So I don't understand what that is. So I'm just noting that both Derrick Court and Industrial Loop already provide access to many industrial businesses. We see Industrial Loop very often here. But we have the maintenance agreement for Industrial Loop, but we don't have one for Derrick Court. The declaration that's recorded against Industrial Loop states it only runs up to lot 314. But this site is lots 315 and 317 also that really are fronting on Derrick Court. So there should be some kind of access easement there or maintenance agreement there. the curb line in front of the proposed site also is very irregular, which I don't understand unless I'm not understanding how to read the drawing. I don't understand why it's not proposed to be laid out straight as would be required with a builder's pavement plan that's reviewed by the Department of Transportation. Or maybe, as I said, it's just not clear the difference between existing conditions to be removed and proposed conditions to be constructed. So I'd like that clarified, because it seems to me when you build a road, you build it straight, and they're required to pave their half of the roadway in order to, to meet basically access requirements, right? So.
Just since you can interrupt you, I have proof of service. Todd resubmitted it while he was listening, he said.
You, Todd. Okay, so have. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. All right, so then I'm going to hand it to Commissioner Shanda.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. So my questions were a couple of things more of, one was that the FAR listed in the zoning chart differs from the statement of facts. The site plan is not clear with regards to the curb cuts. It seems there are several curb cuts. It's not quite clear where they're located. And the other question I had was, should a sidewalk be provided? There isn't any sidewalk along this entire stretch. And so it's just a question. I'm putting it out there.
Right. There's I forget where it is. One of the documents that's included for industrial loop is this waiver provision from the Department of Transportation.
Right.
As industrial loop doesn't have to provide the minimum with sidewalks, and then saying DOT takes no responsibility if someone gets hurt, right?
That's right. My question was more also with regards to, does it apply to Derek? It seems to not. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's a good point. Okay. Okay, so then Commissioner Otley Brown.
No additional questions.
Okay. And Commissioner Shetta.
Yeah, same here, but I just want to mention that we do have a declaration of maintenance submitted, but I'm digging through it, but I wasn't able to like find out whether this is just for industrial or it does include Derek as well.
So the way that you figure it out is you read the declaration of maintenance, and then it has the block and lot numbers that are affected by the declaration.
Yes.
And, only one of the lot numbers that's in this big site. The site is 4 lots, I think, that are all being adjoined. And the declaration only applies to the first lot number. It doesn't apply to any of the ones that go down onto Derrick Court.
I see. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and then Commissioner Shibeta.
I have nothing further to add.
Okay, great. Okay, anything else, Tony? Anybody else on this one? Okay, we can move on.
Okay, zoning calendar, item number 3, 2018-67 BZ, 7406 Fifth Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay, there is a submission dated March 5th, 2020 by the owner that steps were taken to vacate the illegal use. No copies of the claimed vacate order, though, were provided, or of the effort to evict the tenant. I'd like to know what the status is today. At the Department of Buildings, there's a partial stop work order for plumbing dated March 2019, and a partial vacate order inspection date of February 26, 20, which obviously is a result of our requests for inspection. I'd like to know whether the illegal use is gone, because there was a vacate order. There is a vacate order. Almost $12,000 in ECB fines are due. These fines were issued due to the illegal occupancy and construction, which included an illegal apartment in the cellar. So I have to say, I'm not impressed by this property owner's behavior in this situation, and I'm not inclined to grant the special permit unless the owner quickly cleans up its act. This is a special permit to legalize an overbuild. And it looks to me like the overbuild was done to allow for the illegal occupancy that is now the subject of all of this. So why should we reward that behavior? I understand that now we're in difficult times, of course, but we need to see this site cleaned. This application has been at the agency for almost 2 years, so the owner has benefited from that illegal occupancy for at least that much time. So I'm actually inclined to bring this to a vote and let the Department of Buildings handle the rest, assuming a denial. So I'm going to give that to Commissioner Shanda.
No additional comment.
Okay. Otley Brown.
So, question for clarification. You said you were inclined to bring that to a vote. That means that you might bring that to a vote today, or will you settle for a later time, or?
Yeah, because under these circumstances, we would close and then have to vote another day if we did it like that. But I'm just not, I don't know what people's opinion is of this. I just think that this is a really, the landlord, the owner just hasn't been acting. And the only way we got a vacate order is because we sent Department of Buildings and Fire Department in. It wasn't that the owner was taking any real steps. They sent what looked to me like very casual letters to the tenant saying that the tenant is not occupying with illegal use. The landlord says if you don't stop, desist within X days, usually it could be 15 days, it could be tomorrow, it depends on the use, right? Then I will evict you and the marshals will take you out, right? So that didn't seem like a very aggressive, even a very,
Right. I agree with you. I'm troubled by the owner's attitude towards trying to restore the legal condition. But I'm also, to me, that same attitude is kind of extending into the fact that they legalized. They're trying to legalize something that they built illegally, and also their lack of consideration for the neighbors in the way in which they place their air conditioning mechanicals on the roof close to the windows of the adjacent person. All those different actions are making me question whether or not we should grant this case. And so I am inclined to say, absolutely, you should call for a vote.
thank you. Okay, Commissioner Shetta.
Yeah, I do not have a further comment. I believe, yes, it's been a long time since this case is in, and if the owner is not responding, I believe even the last submission, that the latest submission we received wasn't that like responsive to our concerns. So yes, if he's not willing to cooperate, let's not just waste our time, and we have other cases to look at.
Okay. And Commissioner Shibeta.
We asked them to send the usual notices about a year ago. Those were not sent, so I understand the chair's position and I support it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we can move on.
Item number 4, 2018-146BZ, 1315 East 24th Street, Brooklyn. This is a single-family home enlargement.
We have a revised Department of Buildings objection, which was what was needed. It wasn't complete, the last one. Walls to remain at the perimeter were clearly shown on all the drawings. Building height, floor area, rear yard incursions were all brought down as directed. I just want to instruct our council that the resolution has to be clear that the only area in the attic that can have structural headroom of 8 feet or more and would therefore be permitted as to floor area is only that shown on the attic plan of the approved plans, because the drawings are pretty unclear about what the rest of the attic is. So the diagram is showing an area that's 8 feet or more structural headroom. That's all that would be permitted by this. Otherwise, it increases the floor area to over 1 FAR. Okay, handing it to Commissioner Shanda.
I reviewed the document. I have no additional comment, and I agree with the chair's recommendation about being clear about the attic.
Okay. Okay, Commissioner Otley Brown.
I agree with the previous comments. I just also want to add one, that 3-dimensional diagram showing the rear yard extensions and the heights of the extensions. I thought that was very helpful. I think we should start asking for that because it really illustrates what's going on, even better to me than the photos.
Yes. So what the only thing about those things is I thought it was very helpful too. The only thing I'm not % sure that the program that does those 3D things is representing the facts. So the photos and that thing should be compared to each other so that when you look kind of out the window and you see, hey, wait a minute, this isn't going 2 stories all the way to the rear. It's somehow picking up the garage as if it's this continuous 2-story thing, and it's not. I don't really understand how that 3D model is being made. But anyway, so that's just something they should be cross-referenced, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree, is really helpful, really help visualize. Okay. Commissioner Sheta.
I believe I do have some minor comments, but if you look at the submission letter, it describes the proposed as, I believe, as hatched, the existing as hatched, and the proposed as not hatched. If you look at drawings P2 through P5, they show the opposite.
Oh, but that's right. It's a cover letter that says that.
Yes, if you look at if you open the cover letter
Mm-hmm.
and go to the the third bullet point, it says on drawings P2 3 through P5, the plans have been revised to dimension the walls to remain from existing home, hatched, and proposed walls, not hatched. If you look at P2, you're gonna see the opposite. The existing is not hatched, and the proposed is the hatched one.
Okay.
So this is the first thing. The second thing, P5 doesn't have. I didn't see a legend on P5. So they can add a legend similar to the drawings before.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can review in general the consistency between the legend, the consistency of the legends on the drawing series from P1 to the end, because I believe there is something inconsistent. If you look at the demo plan P12, according to the legend provided, we have 2 existing walls to remain, and I don't believe that makes sense. If you compare P12 to P5, it's kind of inconsistency, as I understand.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. All right, they can make those corrections. Okay, but it doesn't change the substance.
No, we're gonna stamp these drones approved, and we don't want them like come back to us in 2 months or so, ask
Right.
them for changes.
Okay, great, thanks. And Commissioner Shabeta.
Nothing further.
Commissioner Shanda, I think, had something to say.
Your hand up? Yeah, okay.
Yes, she's saying this.
I think, yes, what is confusing this, first of all, the cover letter, I think, is referring more to all the diagrammatic things that's been provided for the demo plan. So the problem is in the proposed plan, the existing wall is shown as white and the proposed wall is shown as hatched. And in all the demo plans, it's just been reversed.
Yes.
So, so that's what's adding to the confusion. So it would be good if they make the legend consistent.
Yeah.
as to what either the existing remains white and the proposed remains hatch, or vice versa. And the cover letter then would be reflective of everything consistently. And that's where the confusion is coming from.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Great. All right. I think we can move on. Thank you.
Okay, next item is 2019-16 BZ 25001 Northern Boulevard, Queens. This is, what is this, McDonald's, drive-through.
Mhm. Okay. A lot of information about measures taken since the last hearing in January was promised for this hearing. Given the current circumstances, we will not be able to receive any last-minute documentation on this. So all of this must be submitted for a follow-up hearing, as is the case with all of these applications. But there was a letter submitted that says, you know, we're working on this, we're working on that, and we'll give it to you at the hearing. Well, they can't give it to us at the hearing, so that will have to be submitted for the next. In the meantime, though, all the promised work should be installed to the extent that it's possible to do any actual work. Construction is being allowed to continue at the moment, but we don't know how long that's going to last. I'm okay with the expanded trash enclosure for recyclables, since the enclosure is not adjacent to residential uses. The lumen spread diagram provided shows lumens much higher than 0 along the side lot line. That's not acceptable. They should change the lighting and then provide accurate in-field measurements. They were also were directed to seal cracks in the asphalt, repair the fence, and increase the trash pickup frequency. Don't know that any of that was done or offered. Then the amount of landscaping that's shown, less landscaping is shown along the shared perimeter lot lines. Although it was shown on the originally approved plans running to behind the trash enclosure. Some of it, when you see in the images, is sparse due to, they did replace a fence. So I think in replacing the fence, it killed the shrubs, and that has to grow back. But the planting is not shown going behind the trash enclosure. And that's obviously the place where you need it the most. So I thought that, and that's on the drawings that I'm talking about. In real life, it looks the same. It doesn't go behind the trash enclosures. So I'll hand it to Commissioner Shanda.
I agree with Chair with regards to the location of the proposed trash enclosure. It is away from the residential. And as we know, there is a drive-through between the rear of the lot line to the next residential uses. So this trash enclosure is located more within the commercial overlay, and it is abutting another commercial use. So the placement seems to be fine from my point of view. With regards to the lumen count, I was looking at the lumen count more in relation to the surrounding uses. So, and I was more concerned about making sure that the lumen count is 0 along the residential lot line, and if it's a little bit over in the along the non-residential lot line, I was less concerned, but I agree that this count should be based on actual reading and not an analytical reading or a theoretical reading. With regards to the landscaping, when I'd gone to the site, I do not recall seeing any landscaping in the rear of the trash enclosure.
There isn't.
Right, there wasn't any, because it was abutting the parking. Actually, it was abutting the drive-through, and that kind of connects to the commercial use in the next to it. So really, it was being used more as a commercial vehicle parking and access way. And so I I wasn't that alarmed by it. I was more concerned about was there enough of a buffer along that drive-through that separates the next residential building from McDonald's, and they had not only the fence, but there were also vines and others that was growing. So those are just my comments.
If you look at the originally approved plan, the planting starts at the corner of the trash enclosure, so it goes behind it, then it wraps down along that shared drive, and then it wraps a little to the front onto whatever parkway that is.
Okay.
So they cut the planting short on the,
Okay.
it doesn't go
Okay.
all the way behind, and it's
Okay.
that's where you should have planting.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Otley Brown?
Yes, while I understand what the vice chair said about the lighting and that it's more important to have a 0.0 reading at the residential lot line, since they're actually installing a new lighting system and we're not dealing with what's already there, they should be adjusting the models so that it indicates to them where the proper placement of the lighting should be and the proper angle of the lighting, then install it and take actual meter readings to ensure that you're at 0.0. I don't think that 0.0 is impossible to get to. And being that they're already installing something brand new, they could really adjust it and fine tune it to get to 0.0. It's not like we're playing with an existing system and there's only so much you could adjust the placement. This is going to be brand new.
Right, that's true. Good
I
point.
don't have comments about the other issues. So I just echo the, agreement on the recycling, trash enclosure and everything.
Okay. Sorry. Commissioner Sheta?
Yeah, on the lighting issue, I'm not sure if we're looking at the same lighting diagram. I'm looking at the March 4th submission, and I can see that the lighting values along the residential lot line is typically 0, except for two 0.1 readings. But over the commercial property line, I see readings that actually, I'm not sure even if they are correct. I'm not sure if the analytical model is run like correctly here, but I would rather get readings since we have the system up and running.
Right.
So yes, I concur with the chair that they should submit lighting based on actual readings.
Mhm. I think what Commissioner Otley Brown was getting at is not clear whether lighting was already installed. If it wasn't already installed, then they should use their lighting designer to calibrate the correct location of the fixtures and of the lamps and fixtures and so on, so that they achieve 0 at the board.
I've been to the site. I believe the lighting is up and running.
Okay.
You are correct. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah, but what makes me skeptical about the lighting, if you look at the luminous red diagram, like on the top property line, the one at the top, if you look at the pool all the way to the left, let's say it spreads to the front. Then when you look at the top to the right, the reading is 0.3, then 1.7. But if you go to the other one, the one just to the right of that light pool, the light pool to the right of that one, if you look to the right of it and to the left, the reading is 3 something, 3.5, 3.3. And I am anticipating that they are the same model light pools. So if the one in the middle spreads 3.5, 3.5, why would the one to the left spread 0.3 and 1.7? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So that's why I'm with the actual measurements based lumen diagram.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I get it. Okay, I'm just at the drawing now. lighting.
You see where it says R2A and R3 at the top, R3-1?
Oh, but so, wait a second. So I just going back to your first comment about it being 0 on the residential, right? It's true that the numbers are quite high. It says adjacent on the top, adjacent lot 89, existing 2-story commercial building.
Yes,
The numbers are high on the March, whatever submission that is.
March 4,
Yeah, March 4th submission. They're high at the top.
correct.
As by the time you get to the apartment building across or the house across the drive up, they're at 0.1, but that implies that it's pretty high in the drive up. Also, but anyway, I don't see why they can't get to 0 on their property line. I guess that's the point. So
Yeah, I agree with you.
okay. All right, Commissioner Shabeta.
I agree with the commissioners. I believe that we did discuss this last time. They should be 0 at the lot line, whether it be residential or on the other side. And I don't think that's unattainable, especially because this is a new system.
Mhm. Okay, any other comments? Okay, great, thanks. All right.
Okay, so that concludes the morning review session. So we'll now continue with the public hearing for March 25th at 10 a.m.
Okay,
So
so I'm sorry, go ahead.
you want me to do the call-in number and stuff and the ID?
Yeah, so just again, list all the cases that are going to be heard in the hearing, and then we're going to do the call-in number, okay?
Okay. So the cases to be heard again are 2017-99A, 3798 Railroad Avenue, Queens. New case 2019-68A, 235 Industrial Loop, Staten Island. On the zoning calendar, continued hearing items 2018-67BZ, 7406 Fifth Avenue, Brooklyn. 2018-146BZ, 1315 East 24th Street, Brooklyn. And 2019-16, 25001 Northern Boulevard, Queens. So the call-in number is 646-558-8656. The toll-free number is 888-475-4499. And the ID number is 120-812-723.
Okay, so if I see someone is in the waiting room, that person should be calling in for,
Railroad Avenue.
what?
They should be calling in for only Railroad Avenue.
Right, Railroad Avenue, 2017-99A, 3798 Railroad Avenue. So okay, they've been admitted. And so state your name, please. Hello? Can the person who dialed in speak? Oh, maybe that person isn't the right person, so. Yeah. Okay, there we have Faye-Ann. Somebody else is in the waiting room. Hi.
Hi, Faye-Ann.
Hello.
There's another person sitting in the waiting room whose last 3 digits are 004.
Might be Todd.
What?
Todd, cut off, Todd. If that's Todd.
That's Todd 004.
I
So
think
please,
that might be Todd.
waiting room, if it's not the case, otherwise we'll recognize you as a speaker calling in about this case 2017-99A. Please get off unless you want to speak about it. That's the phone number 004 is the last 3 digits. Okay. Hi, Faye-Ann. So you want to swear in Faye-Ann?
Oh, it's an A case. It doesn't have to be sworn in.
Okay, I'm unmuted again. All right, good morning. Faye-Ann Baton from Sheldon Loeb LPC for the applicant. I attended the virtual review session and I think I could answer some of the questions right now, and I might need some clarification on some other comments. So one of the first issues was the condition, to clarify the condition of the easement. We did put that the easement was a paved road. Could you clarify what other conditions you wanted to mention on the plans? Because I think we did on C101. Just we mentioned it was paved, so some more details of what exactly you wanted to see on that.
Right, so the BSA drawing doesn't show accurately what is the case on that access road. So I didn't see the word paved actually, but it doesn't say what the scope of the paving is because it's a pretty fluid paving situation, like where's the curb, where's the end of the road. It doesn't show those Jersey barriers and the chain link fence that encloses something that looks fairly permanent. It looks like generators or something like that. So it's not really representative. It's not a real survey result of that access drawing, you know. Let's say it's not a drawing that represents what a surveyor would have picked up. And your surveyor who did the access easement drawing was doing a different thing. He or she was plotting the area, easement area, but it wasn't done on top of site survey of the.
Okay, I'll have them fix that. I think there was just some confusion regarding the title company's role and the assurances, because I know at the last hearing wanted to just, you know, show the easement and match it up to the recorded documents. And I think that's what the survey did. I didn't realize you also wanted an additional title company assurance. I just thought, you know, we just wanted some clarification on where the easements, like which recorded document was matched up to a portion of the easement. So I could try to get a title company letter, because I do know that the survey does actually list which recorded document each portion.
But you know, so an easement there's a beneficiary.
Right.
So who's the beneficiary of the easements that they're plotting there on the maps? Right.
I could get a letter from the title company. I guess there had just been some miscommunication on my end. You had mentioned a DEP submission response and that we didn't make one. There was actually a submission made back in April 2019 regarding DEP comments, a letter from the engineer really, and some backup documents. So I could work with Tony offline to make sure they were submitted, or if there was something that we were missing on our end.
Okay, no, what I'm referring to is it's just this continuation I see from my notes that at the last hearing we had the DEP letter that says the applicant must submit a plan showing the proposed method of disposing sanitary storm discharge and available water for the proposed development. And then it says DEP will continue its review after it's received that. So we don't have a DEP good to go letter.
Okay.
All right, I'll email Paulina and see what we can do.
Okay. And then we do have the fire department statement. So you should include the fire department's restrictions on your drawings.
But there's violations, so I don't, oh, I'm sorry, John.
No, yeah, but in other words, they said, what is it? They talked about different kinds of storage restrictions that should be indicated on the drawings. And also from the last hearing, we had a fire department letter that talked about the fabric material, the use of the enclosure. There were other restrictions that should be included as well on the drawings, okay, from both letters. But I'll let the fire department speak in a second.
Can I just clarify? So the first letter that the fire department, that was from like the original application when we filed, when it was, the original proposal was a fabric enclosure. That has been removed. I don't have a copy of the second letter. Tony, can you just forward that to us? But I know, Chair, that you had requested a revision also to the letter to talk about access. I know that fire department does access this lot a few times, frequently, just because of the nature of the activities on the site. So I'll let John speak towards the access if there's an objection to that, because I know you had some concerns regarding the narrow entrance off of Review Avenue.
Right. It's mostly that it's a very kind of casual way to get in. It's, you know, it looks like looks like the entrance to sort of a sand pit or something that you would see in the countryside, right? Where the truck drives in, however the truck feels like driving in, because no one's there. So the drawing should show sort of what's the formal route of entry from through the access easement across Railroad Avenue and onto the site, so that at least there's some way of saying this area shall be maintained clear of the debris at all times, because the asphalt itself is in these giant piles, and it seems to me could easily spill over onto the access route, and then you've got a blocked route until the trucks come and move it around, you know?
So I will ask the the engineer to put more notes onto it. I mean, we do provide an access route, access roadway with the arrows showing access to both the sites. So, I mean, I think some commissioners mentioned that they were there. I've actually personally been there. There are only two ways to get on the site. One is for the trucks, because there's a scale. So the trucks have to go on the scale in order to pick up the asphalt, and that's how they leave as well. And then there's one other entryway for employees, really. Those are the cars parked in front of the building, but we will, and then the rest of the easement and the road goes to the other properties down Railroad Avenue. But I will see if we could clarify it a little bit more on the plans and the I think it is C101, a little bit more details. But you know, the trucks that are actually accessing the site, they have to go onto the scale. So there's really just one way that you could get on, because they have to weigh the trucks before and after. But I will either, you know, we'll clarify that on the plans, and I could also clarify that in the statement of facts.
Okay, so yeah, so it's the drawings that speak
Yeah.
right, because the statement of facts doesn't really travel with the drawings, whereas the drawings go to DOB,
Understand.
right? So, and oh yeah, so one of our comments that there are extraneous marks on the drawings. There's lots and lots of information that's not really relevant to us, and that's what makes it so hard to see the process, right?
Right. I had I mean, compared to the last version, I had the engineer take off a lot because he really did provide a lot, even with the elevations. Or just the sloping and of the site, which I know you guys didn't need. So I'll just make sure. I think, you know, they mentioned they have like the zones, the flood zones and stuff. I'll try to get those off on the site plan, just so you guys we'll keep it on one sheet, but then we could keep it for the BSA site plan, just really the building and maybe the access routes.
Yeah,
I'll try to remove some details.
because actually the floodplains, those are the boldest lines, and that's the
Right.
least important thing to us. So, okay.
Understood.
Anything else you want to add?
You mentioned maintenance agreement. We could provide more information and call it out. These are actually in the recorded documents. I think it's Waste Management that maintains the easement. I didn't really have much time to go through them between the review session, but we will illustrate that and we'll cite to the source. And if it's not really as clear in the recorded documents, I could have a separate agreement or something that illustrates how the easement's actually maintained.
Okay, okay, great.
I don't know if we're listening to the fire department now, and then I just have one more comment.
You want to give your one more?
Okay, so there was one outstanding issue with the DOB objection because the merger of the lots, and I mentioned this at the last hearing, and the engineer and the expediter have been trying to clear this up because as you may be aware, the original filing had two different lots, 279 and 280. They were commonly owned, they were used together, but they were merged into 279, but the actual building, it was on the former lot 280. So the jurisdiction of the board, in order to issue a decision on this, we needed to make sure that the DOB objection had the correct lot and the job. The expediter has been working on this. There was some Department of Finance tax issues that they had to clear, which they did. The one issue is right now is that Department of Finance seems to be closed because of the current conditions. So not much can be done on that end right now.
Okay. Okay. It's not, we need to make a note of that when we reschedule this for continued, that you're on the Department of Finance. Okay, so I'm going to recognize Chief Daly to speak on this. If I can, and I see Commissioner Otley Brown. Yeah,
Hi. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. The fire department did conduct an inspection, and on the date of our inspection, we had observed personal motor vehicles, personal cars of employees stored inside the warehouse, along with trailers that are for human occupancy, an area where they have an office, and of course for employees to change into work clothes at the end, before and after their shifts. We do request that these uses be prohibited inside the storage warehouse, because even the construction of this corrugated metal structure is kind of put together haphazardly. Hopefully the owners will get a more competent contractor to go in to do some repairs on the exterior of this corrugated metal. I have earlier during your review session, you had asked if the fire department can conduct an inspection for fire department access off of Review Avenue down at Eastman area. I have sent an email to our borough commander, and he will have the administrative companies. We know that the hazmat hazardous material unit was out there, but their truck is smaller compared to the tower ladders that are in that area, and they need a greater area to access. So hopefully I'll hear from them soon, and once I do, I'll report back to the board.
okay, great. Thanks very much. I do have a question though about you're saying the corrugated metal structure shouldn't have any kind of occupancy in it. It should just be for what's stored in there?
For storage only. Whatever, they do have material for additives for the asphalt stored inside the warehouse, which is perfectly okay. The fire department does object to having any personal vehicles in there. I mean, yes, they're going to have your trucks, that we can come back, but having personal vehicles in there, in the event we do have to respond, we want to not be wasting time looking for person. I mean, that's our first objective, would be going in to look for a person inside the structure, then fight the fire. But if we prohibited the use for storage of personal vehicles and for trailers, at least we can concentrate on the fire.
Okay, so your concern is that people would be sitting in their cars, or that?
Oh yeah, well, the cars themselves add a fuel load. The mixtures that's used for the asphalt, that's already combustible, and so adding more fire load to the structure, and that is a concern of the fire department.
Okay, understood. Thank you. We're going to recognize Commissioner Otley Brown.
Yes, just to pick up on your comment about getting the truck access and the car access in the circulation diagram. Is it possible to separate that out and almost like auto service stations, to give us one that shows truck access and then another one that shows car access?
Yeah, Ms. Baton, I'm unmuting you.
Okay, yeah. Yes, I could talk to the engineer to try to show show the trucks and separately from the cars.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from commissioners? Anything you wanted to add, Ms. Baton?
No, I think we just need, I mean, you mentioned this before, we just need a little bit more time because of agency closures in order to handle some of those issues.
Okay, great. All right then. So this is again the time when I don't know that we have any members of the public who want to speak on this, but if there are, please, and you're listening, please dial into this number, which I've written down now, Tony. 6.
Yeah, okay. Steve said it's across the screen, but go ahead.
What'd you say?
Steve said that the YouTube or something is, wait, I'm sorry. Steve said the calling details are also in description of the live YouTube video.
Oh,
And that's located on our website
on your web
page.
somebody who's watching right now on YouTube.
No, on YouTube, you can see it.
You can. Oh, great. Okay. So we
Yeah.
don't need it anymore.
Yeah,
Do not need. Correct. Okay.
Yeah, but they are not on the screen. They are below the video, below the screen area. The like call-in information are written there. Yes.
Okay. So if you watch it on YouTube, you should be able to see the call-in number and the dial and the, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. All right then. So nobody called in. Thank you, Ms. Baton, for coming. Next case.
new cases, item number 2, 2019-68A, 235 Industrial Loop, Staten Island. This is a GCL 36 Industrial Warehouse.
All right. So what happened in Industrial Loop?
Yeah, it's Todd calling in.
Yeah, we had them before. So if 2019-68A, 235 Industrial Loop, Staten Island, if this is your case, please call in or Zoom access. Call in number 646. There we go. Oh, Vinroy will admit him. Oops. Sorry. There we go. Call in number 646-558-8656. Dial in number 120-812-723. Waiting for a call, in otherwise we'll go to second call. Oh, here we go. 713, I think, is Todd. He's been admitted.
That's me,
Okay.
Okay.
State your name, please.
Todd Dale.
Hi, thanks for calling in. Okay, you can take it away.
Hello?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Todd.
Todd, you can go.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. So, hey, hello, everybody.
Hello.
Okay. Sorry, the YouTube video might be a little bit behind.
No. Don't watch the YouTube video. Turn that off because we'll get feedback.
Okay. So the YouTube video is off. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning, everybody. We did listen to the review session. Regarding the points that were made. First of all, with respect to the maintenance agreement for Derrick Court, we will review and make a submission to that. I do know that the board previously approved 2 other appeals on Derrick Court, 2016 4182A and 27215A. Both of those are, one is for lot 510, which is at the end of the dead end, and one is immediately across the street. We actually reached out to the Office of Eric Platnick, and they provided some maintenance agreements. We obviously haven't had time to review them, but we'll review it and we'll submit with respect to any maintenance agreements for the portion of this lot that extend onto Derrick Court beyond Industrial Loop.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay. There is a question about the proposed roadway improvement plan. I would agree. I'm not quite sure why it does jut out there. I don't know if it is an issue with line weight or if there is a particular design reason for it. We'll reach out to the architect and ask him to either clarify the plan or explain why it's has that jut out. And in conjunction with that, we'll also get clarification on the curb cuts. I think there was a question about curb cut clarification. And I know there was also some discussion about the sidewalk. I believe as the chair noted that there is a waiver of improvement for the sidewalk, and most of the sites on Industrial Loop and Derrick Court don't provide sidewalks. So I think that's why it's designed without a sidewalk frontage.
But does it need to have also a waiver the way Industrial does?
I don't know, but when we review the information with respect to Derrick Court, we can take a look at any of those documents and see if they have a comparable waiver. We can also take a look and see, as I said, 510, which is at the very dead end. We can take a look at the approved plans for that, and then immediately across the street, there was another approval, and see what they did with sidewalks also, and just compare. You'll have to take a look at that. And then just as a minor point, Commissioner Chanda mentioned that there was a error in the statement with respect to the FAR. There is a typo, so when we submit everything else, we'll correct that typo with the FAR. Just to confirm, the FAR proposed is 0.61, which is reflected in the zoning analysis.
Okay.
Those seem to be the key points. I don't know if there were any other issues, but very clear direction, and we can start working on that and get that in the next submission.
Great. Does anybody want to speak on this? If so, raise your hand figuratively or not. Anybody else? Any commissioners? Nobody? Okay, great. Thank you. So as you heard, we will be assigning continued hearing date for you, and we'll let you know what it is. And if you have a problem with it, you can let us know back. Okay.
So noted. It's a simple list. Stay healthy, everybody, and we'll get that response in.
Thank you. You as well. Thanks for calling in.
Okay. Okay. Bye.
So again, I'm going to request that anybody from the public who might want to speak on this item, please dial into the number that's listed on your screen. I'll just read it for my benefit. 646-558-8656. And the dial-in number is 120, or rather the code 120-812-723. Giving a little bit for people to dial in. Otherwise, we can move to the next one.
Let me know you're ready.
Okay.
Okay, zoning calendar, continued hearing items. Item number 3, 2018-67 BZ, 7406 Fifth Avenue, Brooklyn. It's probably Frank Noriega, probably.
Don't know.
He's assigned to this case. So.
Okay. So we're hearing 2018-67 BZ, 7406 Fifth Avenue, Brooklyn. Please dial in or make your Zoom connection. No, there's a delay on our video. So we're hearing 2018-67 BZ, 7406 Fifth Avenue in Brooklyn. Please dial in or make your Zoom connection. Dial in number 646. There we go. Great.
Hello, Sheldon Lobel, PC, on behalf of the applicant.
Okay. Please hear YouTube, the video. Otherwise, we get feedback. Okay, state your name, please.
David Rosenberg of Sheldon Lobel, PC, on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, I have to swear you in, David.
Okay.
Okay, do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes.
Okay. Proceed.
Good morning, commissioners. I hope everyone and their families are doing well in all of this. Myself and the applicants have heard the board's comments from earlier this morning. Just clarify a few things, and I understand that the applicant will be attempting to call in as well here to discuss some of this. The stop work order that exists on the site relates specifically to a plumbing job filed by the tenant and relates to licensing issues of that plumber. The work that the tenant had filed was specifically here the impetus for the action. Right, as the board noted, until after the last hearing on this matter, there were no violations here, and the applicant, as a matter of good faith, after being informed by the architect that the condition was not in compliance, brought this application to legalize it. As mentioned by the board, the day after the last hearing on February 26th, the premises was inspected by the Department of Buildings, where the department issued a number of violations, all of them in some way or another related to the use at the first floor, as well as the first floor tenant's work in the basement. To date, my understanding from the tenant's counsel is that they have done work on the site to correct the violations. I do not have information yet as to what that work has entailed and what the status of that work is with the Department of Buildings, particularly with respect to the difficulties of the current situation. But understanding that, and the applicant understands that in order for this to proceed, not only do those issues need to be resolved and cured, as we've said multiple times before this board, but that any fines related to the ECB violations will need to be paid before this can be resolved. With respect to the owner, comment from the chair that the owner must clean up their act, they understand the issues here and that they need to resolve it. And if they are on, and Tony, I don't know if they're in on the waiting room now, it's because they are absolutely committed to correcting this condition. At the same time, we also just want to note that the special permit being sought here, 73-621, specifically is with respect to the bulk of the building. And we understand the board's position that the board is not inclined to vote in favor of something and condone an illegal use of the site. And we do not want to have an illegal use of the site, and we're doing everything we can within the limitations of the current situation and the practical limitations of operating a business here in New York City to be able to correct it. But as a fundamental matter, 73-621 requires a showing on the bulk, and we believe that we've met those findings. And we just ask that we be given the time to be able to correct those uses if the board wishes to make sure that those are corrected before the board votes on it.
So my feeling about this is we've been at this a long time. We've been telling the owner to take these tenants out. This was submitted in May of 2018. So there's almost 2 years of illegal construction, illegal use, really, as Commissioner Ollie Brown mentioned earlier, disregard for impact on neighbors. At least 2 years that we know of. It may have gone on for a lot longer than that. And so sort of, my personal feeling is it's that the owner's sort of caught in the act now, and now is trying to slowly atone, but that's not really our job. And my personal feeling about this is that since it's taking forever to clean out this use, that it shouldn't be before us for 2 years. If we hand this back to DOB and DOB continues to do its work, and once you've cured the illegal occupancy, you can come back and refile for the 73-621, but the board is not obliged to consider basically giving a benefit to a bad actor, is my opinion. I'd like to hear the opinions of other commissioners. Anybody raise your hand or want to speak?
Marjorie, there's a phone number that's
Yes,
sitting there in the waiting room. I don't know who that is, though.
I see it. I can see that. All right, I'm unmuting. What happened? There.
Is that for me? Okay. Yeah, it's just, to me, all of those different actions taken over time are pointing to an applicant who I question their ability to go forward in a legal matter and in a legal manner, and also be considerate of the neighbors around them. So although you may meet the literal findings for this special permit, I'm not sure necessarily that we will feel confident granting it down the line, because it seems as if the owner is not eager to show compliance and show commitment to going forward in a nice, legally respectful manner.
Anybody else want to add anything there? No? Okay.
I'd just say, with respect to Commissioner Ollie Brown, with respect to the neighborhood itself, and I hope that the applicant has been able to call in and is able to speak more to their efforts. Until the fire department raised the issue of the illegal use, and the board then directed DOB to look into this, there were no complaints from the neighbors. This was approved by the community board unanimously. And for many of the years that this condition has been in existence, not only have they had neighbors, the adjoining neighbor was, until the office changed in 2018, was the state senator for the area. And there were no issues on the part of the neighbors or the neighborhood. I don't think that we're in a condition, and I know that the board has seen many of these, where neighbors are complaining about a particular use. This is not one of those. I say that, understand that that our position as attorneys and that the applicant's position as a property owner is that this needs to be brought into compliance as soon as humanly possible. And they're doing everything they can to do it.
So, okay, the humanly possible part is where, and I'm going to recognize Commissioner Shabeta and Sheta. 1 second. Okay.
It's not, at a certain point, you have to accept the reality of this case and what's been happening on this case. To say something like, oh, they're doing everything humanly possible, we know that's not reflected, at least. And you know, I think maybe your best bet would be to take a different approach about and addressing and then maybe saying, you know, things are going to change, or giving something, because telling us that it's not what it obviously is not going to be an effective way to address this case, though.
Okay. And Commissioner Sheta.
I believe Dave mentioned that he got in touch with the owner's council and with the applicant's council. He mentioned that they are doing some work. Do you know, and this is a question for you, Dave, do you know what kind of work is being done or has been done so far?
Commissioner Sheta, my understanding is that the series of violations were basically in 3 categories. One, with respect to the use as a physical culture establishment, which is inconsistent with zoning. The second was with doing interior work with respect to the massage parlor that was there without permits. And then the third was with respect to work in the basement, where the Department of Buildings alleged that they converted the basement into a dwelling unit without the necessary means of egress and without permits from the Department of Buildings. My understanding in speaking with the Tenants Council was that they have cleared out anything that resembles a dwelling unit from the cellar, and that they have done work on the interior of on the ground floor retail space to remove the massage rooms to enable the conversion of that space to a legally conforming use in use group 6. My understanding is further that they were preparing to file a certification of correction with the Department of Buildings, but I do not think that has happened as of yet in light of the situation. With respect to Commissioner Shabeta's comments, I absolutely agree that the progress until now is insufficient, and it's insufficient because to date, there has not been a correction filed with respect to the use. At the end, this is not there. None of the work that the applicant is going to do is going to be sufficient until we are able to certify to the Department of Buildings as the enforcement agency, as well as to the board reviewing this, that the use is not a non-compliant use, and that the existing use in that space is a conforming use in accordance with zoning. And these are plans that can be reviewed by the Department of Buildings and approved. And I think that my clients would have me make whatever representation is necessary to assure the board that they are working towards that. But other than beginning a holdover action against their tenant, sending the notice of default under the lease, meeting with the tenant and discussing with their counsel what to do, I don't know what else they could possibly do that would convince the board that they're serious about dealing with this use.
We never saw a notice of default. We never saw a notice of eviction. When you're serious about removing an illegal use, you jump right in as a landlord who's really paying attention. You don't sit on it for 2 years or as long as it's taken since we first brought this up. When we first brought it up, we said, your job is to evict the tenant, not to have little discussions with them, et cetera. Show us that you've moved to do that. We've seen nothing. The only letters you submitted were kind of gentle letters that says, please discontinue your improper use. I'm recognizing Commissioner Shabeta again.
So this is a savvy owner, and he's represented by counsel. You know what the proper notices are. You know what the proper RPAL notices are. These are things that, if you were serious, they would be sent out. If you did send those out, you need to submit those. That would lend credibility to the argument that we're doing everything we can, which is really not supported by the file right now.
Right. Okay, and I'm recognizing Chief Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a question to Sheldon LaBelle's office. And in our letter, we had stated that we had no objection provided that sprinklers were provided in the stairwell for the 2 residential apartments upstairs. What is happening with that application?
My understanding is that a sprinkler engineer has been retained to file that application as well, but that is also, my understanding, contingent upon addressing the issue of the as-built condition of the first floor. That needs to be corrected as part of this as well.
Okay, I am uncomfortable with that answer. Those tenants, the residential tenants, only legally have 1 means of egress. Of course, now hearing other comments being made today about all the illegal work. I mean, I was down in the cellar when I was there. I didn't notice that people were actually living down there, but must have done it after the fact. But I will be sending the fire department. We need to reevaluate this building, again, because the residential tenants only have 1 means of egress out. I'll provide a report to the board after our findings.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, I just note that the applicant is on this conference and just waiting to be unmuted and may be able to speak.
Understand that
Their efforts.
it's aired out with the commissioners and fire department. Okay, and the owner, I'm going to recognize the owner if he would state his name.
Yes, hi, my name is James Hatzapetros. Hopefully you can hear me.
Okay, excuse me, I have to swear you in. So let me swear you in first, and then you can proceed to speak to the commissioners.
Okay.
Do you affirm to tell
okay.
the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your statement and your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay, proceed, please.
Mr. Hatzapetros, could you turn off your YouTube video? Because we get feedback.
The what?
Are you watching us on YouTube?
No.
Okay, good.
Oh, it might be, I might have been, let me see if it's on. 1 second. I was, but I believe it's off now.
Okay, good. We can hear you better.
Okay. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say. First of all, I realize that this has taken way too long. I do want to apologize for that. In all honesty, we thought we were doing something good by filing papers for the extension. You know, there was no ill intent, and we didn't know of any problems because we certainly wouldn't have filed all these papers. We did get the objections concerning the use. I met with the tenant. I probably should have been tougher with him. I'm not saying I shouldn't have. You know, but sometimes you take people for their word, but unfortunately it didn't work out. We did begin a legal action. We did serve a 10-day notice to cure. The attorneys have been talking. We're ready to go back into L&T, but unfortunately the courts are closed. I do want to say that we're prepared to evict this tenant. You know, I have no loyalty or love for this tenant. He has complete use of the basement in his lease. He has complete use of the first floor. We weren't aware of any illegal problems until all this came about. Again, I want to emphasize that we are prepared to evict this tenant. I have no problem with evicting him. The lawyers are talking, though, and the basement has been emptied. They sent us pictures that the basement is emptied. they were using it as storage. I think they had a table around there that they were having lunch, but there's certainly nobody living in the basement. As far as the sprinkler system, we did retain a contractor. We have a licensed contractor. We gave him a substantial deposit, but now because of the climate of things, the world is at a standstill. You know, it's a terrible thing that we're going through. But if given the opportunity, I will sign and swear to anything you want me to do to show that I'm trying to comply. And I'm, you know, it's just an unfortunate set of circumstances. Should I have maybe started the legal action sooner? For that, I apologize. But I just want you to know that we are prepared to evict this tenant. There is a case pending. I just don't know what else to say. I think the tenant's going to comply. I think the use will be changed. The basement has already been cleared out. The sprinkler problem is being addressed. We're certainly not looking to leave anyone in any danger. And again, anything that any representation that you would like me to make will be personally responsible for. I'll take personal responsibility. If you give me an opportunity to correct the problem, I assure you it'll be corrected.
Okay, I'm going to recognize Commissioner Shavetta.
I imagine that you're represented by counsel in the landlord-tenant matter?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And can you have your counsel give you your the documents that were filed, the complaint that was filed in the landlord-tenant matter, so that could be submitted here?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And have you already had a court date, your first court date, your first appearance?
No, we haven't. There were several papers. There was served a 10-day notice to cure. I know the lawyers have been talking. We're actually trying to resolve it before going to the next step. Now we're in the process of going to the next step, but I can't get into court. I mean, the action was only started, maybe, was it 2 months ago, maybe a month ago?
So there was, are you saying just like the preliminary notices were sent out 2 months ago, or you're saying that there was actually a court filing 2 months ago?
We haven't had a court date. I don't know if you're saying if an index number has been assigned. I could check that.
If there's an index number, then there's papers that were filed. If that's the case, I'd ask that you submit those, because that would have everything. That would have all your predicate notices on it. That would have all the information with regard to what steps you've taken to do the eviction.
Commissioner, I just add that we will speak with the counsel that's handling the LMT matter and put together whatever documents they have on this.
Thank you.
I just want to say that I'm going to be a full court press on this tenant. Again, I have no loyalty to this tenant. I have no love for this tenant. You know,
well, he's not getting evicted. There's not going to be an eviction process, like for a few months now.
Mm-hmm. Well, because everything is held up, yes. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, so I think part of the problem that we're having with your case, sir, is that we have been in hearings since July of 2019, where this first came up. And we directed your counsel to correct, and we did, we directed your counsel to make corrections to this illegal use, and then nothing happened. So we don't understand why no one reacted to us and doesn't seem to be taking us seriously. Hence, you don't have a lot of sympathy from the commissioners any longer. And my personal feeling about it is that we should let you take care of this stuff with the Department of Buildings. And once you've cleared up your site, then you could come back to us and then we can see how it's going. But that's my personal feeling. Do any of the other commissioners want to speak on this? Yeah, Commissioner Shanda. Just 1 second. Okay.
Going back to the sprinkler, if I understand correctly, substantial amount of money supposedly has been paid to the company to do the sprinkler work.
Yes.
Now, have you reached out to the company to see if they are able to do the work? Because I do know some amount of construction work is being done.
And
Well, I can present that contract and also the deposit, and I'll certainly pursue it. You know, if it hasn't, I'll get a direct answer to the question.
And Commissioner, Vice Chair, my understanding from the sprinkler engineers that they did evaluate the work before being retained on this, and this is something they're able to do. But the design of the sprinkler does require an understanding of the build condition of the first floor, which is as the fire department raised with respect to the use.
So basically, it is not possible to do this work now.
No. Until this is resolved at the first, until the use itself is resolved, correct?
So actually, in terms of resolution, that's two-part thing. The sprinkler engineer has to design the sprinkler system. And what they're saying is they can't design it until they know what the use on the first floor is. Because that would affect the design, right? So there aren't drawings for the sprinklers, much less installing the sprinklers.
Correct.
Got it.
All right. Yeah, Chief Daly, just a second. There we go.
Yes, now I'm a little confused with this engineer. I mean, we're not asking for the first floor tenant space to be sprinklered, just a stairwell, which is going to be less than 8 heads, and you can tap off the domestic water line. So I think they're making the job bigger than it really is supposed to be. It's just the stairwell for the residential apartments above is what we're asking to be sprinklered. That's all.
Okay.
If I may just jump in, concerning the sprinkler, I don't have the contract in front of me. Unfortunately, I'm working from my house. I don't have the file in front of me. But we do have a contract indicating exactly what is going to be done. And certainly they're licensed to do it, and they have the ability and they're capable of. Unfortunately, the work is pretty much stopped. I don't know if they're actually physically installing now. I will push them and pursue it. But even with that, I'll make sure that everything is done. But there is a contract out. I know there is a description of work. I know a deposit has been given. They just haven't begun the job, but they've been retained to do the job.
But so now we have lots of conflicting information between you and your counsel, sir. So your counsel is saying the engineer hasn't even done the drawings because they're assuming they don't know what the use is on the ground floor. We have Daly telling us that all that needs to be installed is sprinkler heads in the stairwell for 2 tenants upstairs, and then some kind of proposal for work. And the only thing that has to happen is the guys have to show up and install. So what's the answer?
And Chair, I'm just going to note that as we are discussing this, I'm getting emails from other people on the applicant team noting that they believe that the sprinkler engineer does in fact have drawings. I will, though, review with the applicant, the sprinkler engineer, particularly in light of Chief Daly's comments, and be able to provide the board an update of exactly where the sprinkler application stands at the moment.
Okay. And for your information, I'm fairly certain that as of this moment, construction has not stopped in the city, especially for issues that have to do with health and safety, sprinklers being one of them. So your sprinkler contractor may not have any workers who are willing to appear on the job. That's a different thing. But but it's not that work has stopped. And I understand DOB is even still issuing permits for that kind of work. So correct me, anybody.
Madam Chair, that is my understanding as well. And so we will be reviewing this to determine how quickly this can be filed. And if we can share the drawings with the board before they can be filed for whatever kind of personnel issues, we will do that as well.
Okay, so this is my general opinion about this because I don't want this dragging on, and it has been dragging on. I'd like to close this item and then put this on for a decision in some reasonable amount of time, which we'll let you know about. And in the interim, if we get information satisfactory to persuade us that the illegal use has been discontinued, and that there's been an aggressive behavior on the part of owner and council, landlord-tenant council, and we're persuaded that real measures are being or have been taken, and that the sprinkler contractor actually has been given right instructions, et cetera, then we can consider reopening it. But at the moment, I would like to close this, which is one way to light a very bright, hot fire under the owner to tell them that they're about to lose this case. Okay, any comments from commissioners about this? No? Okay.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you.
So then I'd like to make a motion to close. Oops, I have to unmute. Sorry, just a second. Let me unmute all the commissioners.
So we're gonna close?
Yeah. Okay, they're unmuted.
Chair Permetta,
Aye.
Vice Chair Chanda,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Aye.
Okay, so this case is closed.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for calling in. And we will set a decision date and let you know what that is. Okay. And then this is the part where I ask for, oh, too late. Okay.
Sorry. Okay, we're going to the next case? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Item number four, 2018-146 BZ, 1315 East 24th Street, Brooklyn.
Okay, we have Elise Fullader has signed in.
Okay, please identify yourself.
Can you hear me yet?
Yes.
Okay. Elise Fullader from Eric Palatnik PC.
Okay.
All right. Do you affirm? Oh wait, are you gonna zoom in?
Sure, you're Elise.
Yeah,
You're off so we don't get feedback and you can hear us in relative real time.
I turned off the YouTube, but I didn't get an allowance to log into Zoom to the video. Last time I got you were allowed to log to see your face.
Oh.
I don't know.
I think maybe you didn't hit the shot
Got it.
video. Okay.
Sorry.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay. All right, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond to board member questions?
I do. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So we heard your comments and we can fix the hatching, non-hatched portions because it seems like you can only close and not grant today anyway. So we're more than happy to fix the hatched, non-hatched situation between the demo plans and the non-demo plans.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Chanda, for pointing that out, the differences, clarifying.
Okay. It was actually Sheta and then Shanda. So
Well, she then clarified, that's why I'm saying that it was on the demo versus the non-demo. So that's what I'm saying.
And we liked your 3D diagram, so it may become a standard for the backyards. But okay.
Zola one, right? Is what you're Zola, the one taken from Zola?
I guess it was taken from Zola. That's the one that does those 3Ds, right?
Yeah, that's, I mean, I got it from the city's website. I'm hoping that it's accurate, but it's based off of Pluto data.
Right. I think that was a comment I made. It seems accurate. And then the only way to know if it's accurate is you look at the photos around to see, oh, wait, this one maybe isn't true. Right. That kind of thing.
So I guess it's as accurate as Pluto is accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right. Any other comments from anyone? I'm going to ask for anyone from the public if they want to speak on this case, because I'm going to close it. Phone number again, 646-558-8656. call in code 120-812-723. Okay. Okay, seeing no callers in, I'd like to make a motion to close this.
Chairperson Perlmutter, sorry.
Yes, aye. Threw me off there.
Vice Chair Chanda,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Shabeta.
Aye.
Okay, so we're just going to wait to receive the, which should be submitted quickly, let's say, well, given the circumstances, as quickly as is reasonable. But before we, in other words, before we come to a decision date, the drawings should be resubmitted to fix the legends. Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank
you. Okay. We'll go to the next one.
Item number 5, 2019-16 BZ, 25001 Northern Boulevard, Queens.
Okay. So please dial in for 2019-16 BZ. That's 250-01 Northern Boulevard, Queens.
250-01.
Say again?
2501 Northern Boulevard.
Oh,
It should be
50-01.
right. There should be Neil. There should be Neil, I think.
I don't see anyone calling in. So please dial in or click the Zoom link. I'm going to read the number again in case you can't see it on the screen for some reason. 646-558-8656. Passcode 120-812-723.
Let me send Neil an email, maybe he.
Okay. And just for anyone watching, this is this case 2019-16-BZ 250-01 Northern Boulevard is the last case, I believe, on the morning calendar.
Yes.
The following case, the next set of cases, the remaining cases for what were originally scheduled for the March 24th hearing will be heard this afternoon. Is Daryl, you're calling him? Yeah. Okay.
Somebody on the line.
Yes. Okay, please.
Hi, sorry about that. I had the wrong meeting number from yesterday.
Ah, okay.
Ready to be sworn in.
Okay. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay, proceed.
Good morning. Hi, good morning. Neil Weisbard on behalf of McDonald's Corporation. Hope everyone's doing well again today. I listened to a review session earlier and I'll go through the comments. Yes, we have been delayed in doing the repairing of the fence, filling the cracks, and which was brought up today too, which we will do, bringing the plantings into first-class shape. That we'll try to get that done as soon as possible. I have to follow up with the architect and the contractor of when that can be done. The trash frequency, the trash is picked up twice a week and the recycling is picked up on a separate day for a third pickup. We haven't heard any complaints or issues with this schedule. I've spoke with the operator. The trash is never overflowing and this has been sufficient, and I can include that schedule in our next submission. I'm also glad the chair and the commissioners have no objection to where we want to place the recycling with the new enclosure, and so we will move forward with that. As to the lighting has not been installed yet. There are the existing stanchions but we worked with our lighting consultant, and the tops of those, the fixtures with shields will be repositioned and retrofitted to try to get, or we will get to the zero along the residential lot lines. We wanted to have this hearing first before we moved in with paying for all the new lighting, but it seems clear that the board is requiring zero along the residential lot lines. So we will move forward, we'll install the lights, and then we will take actual readings. I'm not sure about, I just want to be clear, is the board requiring 0.0 along the commercial lot line?
I think the feeling about it was you're installing a whole new lighting system, right? Why don't you just have it zero? You know, when we allow it to spill over, it's because it's an existing lighting system, and the only way to correct it most of the time is installing shields. So we try to be
right. So I did speak to the architect, and he thinks that, I don't know if we're going to get to zero along that commercial parking lot where it right now reads 0.3, 1.7, 3.0, but he believes if we add shields, we can reduce that. But that is used for parking only, and I don't see any issue. It might even be beneficial to have some light in that adjacent parking lot. But we will install shields if the board wants us to do that along that commercial northern lot line.
You know, my feeling about it, all of these things is you shouldn't be spilling any of your activity over to a neighbor if it's possible to do it. That's the only places that we normally make real exceptions is the public sidewalks, where we view that it's useful to spill onto the sidewalks. But correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, or they feel differently. Okay.
Well, I don't think it's going to be possible to get to zero on that along that parking lot in the rear. I think we can reduce it significantly with the screens and then taking the actual readings, but zero would require a dart. It's right adjacent to us, and so I can't say at this hearing that yes, we're going to achieve zero on that portion.
Well, you're not a lighting engineer. That's the job.
Right. No, I'm hoping that we can, but from the fact that we couldn't even, that we are still a little bit over for the software readings across the easement area where the residences are, I'm skeptical that we're going to be able to get it to zero in that commercial parking lot. But we will I'll provide what numbers we have and look at the software, and if it gets down to zero, then that's great.
Well, I'm a little confused. The line of property line is a distance away from the edge of from the lights. The lights are, I don't know what the dimension is. It's not valued here. The lights are like 5 feet away at least. It's even more than that. 8 feet away at least from the property line. So I don't understand why you can't drop that.
Like I said, and like you said as well, I'm not a lighting engineer. We'll add the shields and see where that brings us.
Okay, but you said that those stanchions, it's just the stanchions, the lights haven't been added yet. Oh, Commissioner Otley Brown, I'm going to recognize her just a second.
Yeah, I was puzzled, and I wanted to know what would go into ensuring that it was zero. Wouldn't it be not just shields, but perhaps lowering the light?
Well, from what I've been told, there's going to be reduced wattage. They are being redirectioned, and there will be shields added. I haven't heard from the board before until today that you are looking for 0.0 along commercial property line. So I haven't even brought this up to the lighting engineer that we need to get 0.0 along this commercial parking lot as well.
Hmm. Okay, but so, I mean, it's the levels are very high at one spot, right? It's 3. which again, I think Commissioner Shetta said the same thing. How can it be 3 over here and 1.7 over here? Doesn't make sense. So not even.
Right, I think actual readings will
Yeah.
hopefully
So
clarify that.
I think the point is, if when you tell an engineer, here's your instruction, the engineer will design to that instruction, right? So let's do that. Give the engineer the instruction that by the time you're at the property line, which is far away from your actual parking area, you have this big break between, unless I'm misunderstanding where the.
It's not that big of a break. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's 6 to 8 feet.
So that's far. 8 feet away from where the lights are, unless those lines are not the property line. Maybe I'm misreading the drawings. No, the drawings keep showing.
The dash line is the property line. It cuts through that step for the other building. They have an easement with us.
So that's a long distance of step down potentially for lighting. So it seems to me that why don't you just give your engineer that instruction and make them figure it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, there was also regarding the landscaping from the previously approved plans.
Yeah.
I spoke to the architect and we believe, well, we're going to have to actually move the fence that's behind the existing enclosure and the new enclosure. And we break up the concrete and we believe that it shouldn't be a problem putting landscaping there, putting some arborvitae.
Okay, great.
And I think that might have been it.
Yeah, I think so. I see Commissioner Shetta's hand up and also Commissioner Shanda. I'm going to recognize Commissioner Shetta and then Shanda.
Very quickly, regarding the lighting, I believe the reason for the 3 reading is if you look at the light pole all the way to the left, it's kind of swung. So it's not perpendicular to the property line. It's rotated anti-clockwise a little bit. That's why it's shedding light to the adjacent property to 3 and 2.7.
Mm-hmm.
If you have not installed the light, if you just rotate this clockwise to make it perpendicular, I believe that the values would go down to around 1. With some additional shielding, you could probably take that one to 0.5. And if the adjacent property owner is okay with some light, let's say up to 0.5 or so, I would take it. I wouldn't be concerned about it. If provided that you get something in writing from the adjacent property owner saying that he has no issue with the lighting.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to recognize Commissioner. Oh, she's unmuted. Okay. Oh, no, you're not. Sorry.
Okay, I have a couple of questions, and I think this to me is more from the consistency point of view. I do agree that we do allow for a lot of light spillover onto on public sidewalks, but we have also allowed for some amount of spillage of lighting along the commercial property line. We have been very clear that we will only see 0.0 along the residential property line. So to me, this is a little bit of a first of seeing requiring a 0.0 along the commercial property line. With that said, I do also want to ask the applicant, the applicant mentioned that there is an easement with the abutting property owner, and I see there's a staircase that's leading from the abutting property onto that. So that's probably an exit for the building, and based on the plan, it's 7 foot wide. So what I would like the applicant to clarify, does the property owner, abutting property owner, commercial property owner that is, have any lights mounted on their property that might be shedding, adding to this light calculation? And as Commissioner Shetta pointed out, if this is, and for me, it's more of a safety issue because you have this narrow kind of a aisle that is going nowhere. It's going to the rear of the property. There's a safety security issue, and there should be some amount of lighting that should be provided to ensure that there is 24/7 safety maintained along this fire egress from this commercial property line. So we do need to be a little bit, I believe we should give some kind of thought to that before we make it absolute zero along the commercial property line.
Right, but so it's zero at by the time it goes over that property line. So that encompasses the staircase. In other words, you can have lighting levels.
Well, what I'm getting at is that along the commercial property line, we have, I do not recall adhering to a 0.0 lighting along in spillover of commercial property lines. We do adhere to the 0.0 when it comes to the residential property line. In this case, we're talking about an adjacent use, which is a commercial use, and it has parking in the rear, and then there's a fire exit. So, and even this property has a little bit of its commercial use spilling over into the R2, which is being used probably for parking or something like that. So I think we need, I think the circumstances for us to.
Sorry,
Hello?
we got two different things, right? One is normally when we have an existing commercial use that has existing lighting, we say you're spilling onto the residents. You need to do something like shielding to reduce the spillover onto the residents, and we don't go and have them adjust onto the commercial because we understand these are existing conditions, right? In this case, the whole lighting system is new. So once you're working on a new situation, it's kind of like for me with the brand new buildings that are being built here. Now I want the trash installed within the buildings because we see the problems that we're getting from these trash enclosures that are remote and badly built. So that's, you can treat things differently when it's a brand new construction site. But in terms of the issue of that little side staircase, first of all, I kind of assume that the neighbor, if that's their route of egress, they must have lighting over the staircase, otherwise it wouldn't be a legal staircase. It's true that might be artificially pumping up lighting levels for this site, but also, and so that should be taken into account, but also that we're talking the property line for this property is actually includes that little staircase. So the lighting levels can be above zero up to that point. So it would encompass the egress route. Anyway, anybody else want to speak on this? Okay. Okay. Is there anything else?
So I have a question if we are asking for a letter from the neighbor, and what if the neighbor says, I actually want the lighting, I appreciate the lighting? Would the board look at this differently?
I think the issue, so let's not overcomplicate this, right? Because I don't want to be in these like negotiation things. Let's have you get the lighting down to as close to zero as you can. And to the extent that it's a little bit above zero, then as Commissioner Sheda suggested, if you were at 0.5, but you're not at 0.5, you're at 3, right? 3 is a read. I think you can read under 3 lumens, right? So at 0.5, the suggestion is if you want to go over 0 and you get a letter from the neighbor saying it's okay to go over 0, that's different than saying you're going to be 3. The instruction is to bring it down to 0 to the extent you can. Okay, just to not.
Understood.
Okay, just go back and forth indefinitely. Okay. All right then. Any other comments on this one? All right, so I'd like to invite any members of the public who might like to speak on this. Again, this is, oops, 2019 application number 2019-16BZ 250-01 Northern Boulevard, Queens. The dial-in number is posted there on your screen, but it's also 646-558-8656. And the code is 120-812-723. Give it a second. Okay,
Okay,
but he's
so
right. Go ahead.
we're done? Wait, is that someone dialing in?
No.
Okay, so this concludes the March 25th, 2020 hearing for the 10 a.m. session. We'll resume at 2 o'clock with cases 2019-85 BZ, 65 BZ, 373 Avenue W, Brooklyn, 2019-158 BZ, 8903 57 8th Avenue, Queens, 2019-269 BZ, 3425 Rambatz Avenue, the Bronx, and new cases 2019-171 BZ, 1610 Eastchester Road, the Bronx, and 2019-174 BZ, 4558 Bell Boulevard, Queens.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for dialing in. Thank you for those of you watching us on YouTube. See you at 2.